Good evening, everyone. Welcome this evening to our Brawley City Council meeting, our successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency, our regular meeting here this Tuesday, September 3rd, 6 p.m., actually a little after, 6:01 or 2. If we can get the roll call, please.
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
Very good. And if we can all please stand, and Councilmember Hamby, if you don't mind, doing us the honors for the invocation.
Welcome, everybody. Let's pray. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, we ask again tonight that you would oversee these proceedings, that you would give us wisdom as we guide the path of our city. We ask that you would also watch over and protect our citizens and our law enforcement, our safety personnel, and all of our employees. Lord, we thank you that we have freedom and liberty in this country to gather in this way, and ask that we would use that freedom wisely in our guidance of this town. I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If Councilmember Nava can lead us in the pledge, please.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Nava, Councilmember Hamby.
You're welcome.
Getting us started. We'll move to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll move to our first item on the agenda, which is the public appearances and comments. This is not to exceed 4 minutes and is a time for the public to address the council on any items that are not appearing on the agenda is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The Mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the council. We do have a scheduled presentation. We'll hold on that for just a second. We'll move to that. We'll go and open up to any comments from the public. Please come on forward.
It's 2 meetings in a row, right? No, Gil Rebler, 261 West K. First off, thank you to Chief Sawyer and your men and women for attending the recent school supply drive at Brownie's Diner. Thanks for donating and also for having a presence and getting to the community, and also to the Brawley Public Safety Employee Association for the splash event. It was a great event. I went with my daughter, and she had a great time. And in the future, if you ever need any participation from the schools, feel free to reach out, whether manpower, volunteer, even monetary contributions. We'd be more than happy to lend a hand. And speaking of the poll, I know there's an item regarding the improvements that I would hope to be tabled until the next meeting, but I'd like to discuss that when that gets brought up. But one of the things I'd like to bring up is about 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation from the Public Health Department, and it was about the health and of our students. And I know I talked to Donnie about this over the weekend. California, 24% of students meet the fitness standard requirements. At Brawley Elementary School District, depending on the grade, it ranges from about 12 to 15%. So our kids are not fit. One could argue our community is not healthy. And so I'd really like for us to collaborate on some sort of health initiative to really address this serious issue. Being in a low-income community, many of our students' only opportunity is through academics or athletics. And so I think initiating some sort of health initiative and discussions on it, on how we can collaborate, can just help the city of Brawley. I know we passed a resolution some time ago. I know you've met with our schools to have these 2-on-2 meetings between the elementary school district, the high school district, and the city. And so perhaps bringing that back to light and scheduling some meetings so we can help discuss this. And whether that means simply, Mayor Wharton, you are the epitome of a fit and healthy lifestyle. If that means just riding your bikes to our school or running and speaking to our students, or advocating what it means to be healthy, or even going further in perhaps the banning of non-FDA approved electronic cigarettes or vapes, or temporary moratorium on allowing fast food chains to enter in our city, something, just because this is a serious thing where over 80% of our kids do not meet a health requirement, a health standard. And that is a scary statistic that I think we all need to work together to address. And so hopefully we can start working and collaborating and discussing on how to address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public? All right, thank you for that comment. Under public appearances and comments, we will go to an item listed here. Is a scheduled presentation by Sean Rizzuto, the Caltrans District 11 representative, and this is regarding the mud pots north of Nyland on State Route 111 and anticipated detours.
And Mayor Wharton, I just received a text. He's about 3 minutes out.
Oh,
So
okay.
my apologies for his delayed arrival. If you'd like to move to another part of the agenda, perhaps he could be substituted in at another time.
Or Gil, do you have 3 more minutes worth of, no. I'm just kidding. No.
Just kidding.
I'm just-
He's kidding.
Anybody else?
Approved consent.
Okay, we'll make accommodations as soon as you come in, so I appreciate that. Let's go and move to item 2. Item 2 is our consent agenda. These items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately as determined by the mayor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, motions. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll move to our regular business. Regular business item 3A we'll begin with is a discussion of potential action to approve request for a transportation fee waiver in the total amount of $367,290 for 200 residential units in Malin Park and Victoria Park to construct the north half width of Wildcat Drive. Backup materials are on pages 42 through 43. Sure. Yep.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Wharton, council members, Gordon Gast, Development Services Director. This is a request for the 2 subdivisions on the north side of Wildcat Drive between South Imperial Avenue and Brawley Avenue, or to Western Avenue actually, to waive the fees for just the transportation portion of the impact fees. As you've probably heard in the past, there have been other cities or even our city has considered this before in terms of a regional street, a road that is a regional significant impact that is not just adjacent and for the residents of those specific subdivisions. This is an arterial that is crucial to our circulation element in our general plan. And as you probably remember, recently these fees as part of the Latigo Ranch were also waived by the council. I believe this developer just wants to, have the same type of, incentive to finish that street at this time. It is an important street. It would be great to have it done. Staff doesn't have an issue with it, and I believe this would be a very positive impact for the city of Brawley, not just for the southwest side, but for anybody that goes to Walmart or out of town, that there's alternatives. It'll take some stress off of the Malin Brawley Avenue intersection, the K intersection, because now we have some other alternatives. Okay. If you have any questions?
Very good. We'll open up to questions, comments, council.
Do they give a timeline for beginning construction if we waive the fees?
We do have a project representative here today. Mr. Dial is prepared to answer questions about the project.
How you doing? Todd
Todd.
Dial.
Good evening.
1257 River Drive. Pleasure to be here. There was one question, and Gordon and Rosanna maybe. I think we have 221 lots. It's
Yes.
94 lots on Victoria Park and 127 at Mainland. So
Okay.
the numbers are not quite exact, but I just wondered if.
We have 127 units in Malin Park, and I think you corrected 93 for 94.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have it short by 1 in the staff report.
Okay. Because the 221 times 1,836 is about 405,000 and change. Just,
Okay.
I'm a mathematician. but anyway.
What about the question that we just had raised? Could you answer that question,
What
Todd?
was that
About
question,
when would
Sam?
construction begin?
Yeah, so construction, we're looking to begin as soon as possible. We're trying to iron out our development agreements right now for both Mayland Park, and we're near the end of Unit 3A, mapping, improvement plans, and development agreement there also, and so it'll be very soon. And, Charlie Schreiber's in the audience here, also the owner-developer. So if there's also questions regarding, am I correct, Charlie? Yes. Yeah, okay.
Right.
There you go.
Other questions? Comment from council? That was
I'll
one
make
of
the
mine.
motion.
Yeah. Sure.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second, and I'll add just, if I could, one more comment before we move forward with the vote. I did a couple years back with Councilmember Nava make the visit and spent time at the retail conference, and it was really emphasized to us from the commercial and retail representatives and landowners within the city of Brawley that represent some of the big potential leaseholds, that this was a very critical roadway to the commercial development of Brawley, not just its obvious residential impacts and flow and circulation, as our development director already covered. So just really excited, I think, between what we discussed a few weeks back with Mayland Park and some of these projects all coming together to really get the movement going on Wildcat. So I think there's a lot of benefits, some of which aren't even being discussed, yet. So, okay, there's not any further discussion. We have a motion. We have a second. Call for the question here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you very much. And I think.
I just have one more comment.
Sure.
Would love to commend you guys. Your staff has been just wonderful to work with. Your city manager, your planning, your public works staff. Just thought you should know it.
Thank you,
Mr.
Thank you.
As a contractor, I did all that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, is that right?
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is our
Okay. Yes,
presentation?
Sean is
Okay.
present.
Take
Yes. Thank you.
He's here.
You want to
Mr. Rizzuto, if I can make the grand announcement, you can step right up. And this is our scheduled presentation as under public comments. All yours.
Hi, good evening. My apologies for being late. I've been running a little ragged here lately with the new developments that have happened up in the Gillespie Road Mud Pot. Some people call it the Nyland Mud Pot, but it's north of Nyland. And just to let you guys know, we've executed an emergency contract to implement some mitigation for the mud pot. It is moving in a southwesterly direction towards the highway. It is it's about 19 feet from the edge of the track for the chute fly that the railroad constructed about 6 months ago. So it is continuing to move. Not so much the vent itself. You guys know what the mud pot is?
Yes.
So so there are thousands of mud pots in Imperial County. They're everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but in the Nyland area, Superstition Mountains, around Calapat, anywhere really where there's some geothermal activity. This is not geothermal in nature because the venting is not superheated. So what has happened here is that there is a perched groundwater table in this area, and this is what makes this truly unique. And to my knowledge, the only one in the United States that is acting this way. So we have a vent that's opened up, and it's venting CO2 gas with hydrogen sulfide and some other smaller, minute gases, all in non-hazardous levels. But it's venting through this perched groundwater table, and it's causing, for lack of a better terms, like a geyser, but it's not really shooting up in the air. It's just bubbling up. And that's causing is it's causing a caldera to form, And what happens is the edge of the caldera continues to collapse upon itself as the water is pumped off, the sides cave in, so it's growing. And in since last Thursday, it has moved about 2.5 feet in nature. So as soon as it breaches the embankment that the railroad constructed for its shoe fly, it is going to start flooding the highway right-of-way. So that is a problem for us. We want to, so we have we have 3 different alternatives. One is short-term, one is just a detour traffic and close down 111. That's not our preferred alternative, but that is in an emergency situation. That's what we would have to do to protect the traveling public. Our second alternative is to drive a sheet pile wall to redirect the flow to gravel wash and install some subsurface drainage, which we call a rock burrito. It's basically a big filter fabric with a rock burrito with some perforated pipe in it that will keep the sediment neutral and not take any sediment out, so it won't create a caldera, but it will allow the water and gas to vent and be siphoned off into gravel drain. As a last resort, we are constructing, and we'll do all this concurrently, we will be constructing a detour to the west towards the Salton Sea. We're in current negotiations with the Department of Fish and Wildlife to obtain a right to enter, a construction easement. We've been in negotiations with them for several months now, but now that we've deemed this an emergency contract, we're accelerating. So we expect to have an agreement within 20 days, hopefully within 10, where we will simultaneously drive the sheet pile wall, construct the subsurface drainage, and construct a detour. So we're taking all options on the table because it is moving at a faster rate. But with that being said, it could stop all of a sudden. What caused it, so this mud pot has been there since like 1953. It's been slow moving. It's pretty much sedimentary for several decades. And then there was a swarm of earthquakes in 2016 that caused it to move. And it will take the path of least resistance. So we're not sure how deep it is. And we're not sure how much gas, how big the gas bubble is. So we want to make sure that we provide for the safety of the traveling public and make sure we don't sever that route for the local community. So we are actively engaging in a robust public information and public relations campaign. That will begin soon. One of the reasons I was late is because I got a late email that I needed to comment on an email blast that we want to send out later this week. We will begin driving piles this Friday. So we'll work a 12-hour shift. Depending on how fast the mud pot moves, we will accelerate the work. We'll work 2 12-hour shifts. We'll work 3/8. I'm leaning towards 3/8 because of the heat. And we have some contractors that are not from the area, so we don't want anybody to get harm themselves for heat exhaustion, heat illness. So, we want to work concurrently, but we also want to be safe in what we're doing. So we'll have minimal impacts to the traveling public and the local communities in the beginning because we'll be doing it under one-way traffic control. We will implement a speed reduction zone in the area. We'll go from 65 to 55 for the duration of the mud pot. When we do our detour and we tie in the detour, that will be signed at 55 miles an hour. So we'll be dropping from 65 to 55. Let's see, what else do we have? There's a lot going on. But so I've already engaged local suppliers to generate the rock and the materials that we need in order to accomplish what we need to accomplish in a very short period of time. They're all on board. The contractor that we have is a very good contractor. He's very responsive and he's very attentive to our needs and wants. So I expect the work duration, total duration, to be no more than 80 days. I anticipate, depending on if we can do the work concurrently, we may be able to shave about 20 days off of that schedule, and we may be able to shave even more days off those schedules when and if the mud pot starts to move or accelerate. We'll start working a 24-hour shift, and we'll start, right now we're going to work a 6-day work week, 12 hours a day. If it does accelerate, we will start working 24 hours a day, and we'll work a 7-day work week. We will be closing 111 when we install the subsurface drainage under 111 for a week to 2 weeks. We are going to reach out to the local communities to see when that is best, when's the best time to do that. I know there's no good time. You know, we have Calipatria State Prison up there. We have the Nyland Township, Calipat. We have businesses that go through there and agricultural. And then we also have Bombay Beach and the communities in the north region that we want to be sensitive to. We will accelerate the work. When we do shut down 111, we will work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to get it back open. With that, I'm open to any questions.
Council, any questions? That was a very thorough,
Very thorough.
yeah, informational report. Any questions?
Is there a way around 111 up there for residents, or are they going to have to come in the back way from India?
There is no official detour. The official detour will be 86. It's about 100 miles out of direction. It is a very lengthy detour.
Ways, man.
There are some local roads, but we won't sign them for that.
You won't sign them for that?
No.
People may take them if they're local traffic residing in that area, though, right? Is that
That's
what they might
That's
do?
a decision they have to make.
Right, I got that.
Officially.
Yeah.
The state of California does not recommend going on those roads.
Okay. Very good.
Mr. Rizzuto, my only question was just, you were mentioning the, obviously making this appearance, but what email blast, I heard emails going out. Are there other forms of public communication on this, just in the valley?
We're going to be doing, so we're going to link with, we're going to partner up with ICTC and Imperial County Public Works to access or put some links to our page. So we're going to set up a page where we're a little bit, we're facing some challenge with ADA compliance with our websites. Everything has to be in text. We do have drone footage that we're going to be flying every 2 weeks, so it's a good idea I thought it was a good idea to post that drone footage so people can be aware of it.
And see it, actually, yeah.
It's not ADA compliant, so we can link it to our Facebook page or something to that effect. The one thing I do want to mention, the site is not open to the public. There is no access to the mud pot. Please do not go out to the mud pot to look at it. It's in the railroad right-of-way right now, and they will have you removed. So, it's in between the two tracks right now, and it is not safe to traverse in between train tracks.
Yeah. And I'm assuming maybe like our publications as well could get that information out, so.
Yeah, anything that you want us to send, any advocacy group or any local community group that you have a suggestion, feel free to have Rosanna or Guillermo send it to me. We will add them to our email blast and make sure that they are aware of it. I mean, we have a pretty good handle on, Imperial County with the past projects that we've done. We did a project very close proximity, Z Drain, where we replaced the bridge up there about, did that 10 years ago, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
Same detour, same situation. We actually closed it for a little bit longer, about 4 weeks while we replaced the bridge. So my intent is not to do that at all. I think we can accomplish it in a lot shorter period of time. I'm very sensitive to the out of direction move, and going 100 miles out of your way is not an easy task.
For sure.
No.
What period of time did you say the closure would be, more or less? I know you want to keep it to a minimum, but more or less, how many days did you say?
Which closure, the one-way traffic control or the full closure?
The 111 closure.
Full
The
closure?
full closure.
It will be a week to 2 weeks long. I say 2 weeks. I'd rather be early than late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So 2 weeks, but we will do everything within our power to open it early. And our ability.
Yeah. Very good.
It's going to be
That's
wild.
rough.
Again, I appreciate that report, Mr. Rizzuto, and for your sake, I hope it gets done quickly. It looks like
It will.
you're on top of it, yeah.
It will.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you very
Very
much.
forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Moving on, back to regular business, we'll go to item 3B, which will be discussion and potential action to adopt resolution number 2019, resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley declaring an emergency ratifying action taken by the city manager approving the emergency full reconditioning of water distribution pumps, motors 422 and 423 by Brax in the approximate amount of $128,217.56 plus 10% contingency. Guillermo Sillas.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Guillermo Sillas, Public Works Director. I'll describe on the materials attached to the agenda. There's a description of the system for the distribution of the water through the city. And there's 5 pumps, distribution pumps, basically that send the water to all the city pipes. And the current situation is that we just have one new pump, let's say, because recently was rehabilitated pretty much to be new. The rest of the 4 pumps, just one is working in good condition. The other, there's 3 that are not working, they are not operable right now, and there's one that is working satisfactory, let's say. But of course that 20 years of age. Pretty much the city needs 2 pumps to be operating continuously, and we have 2 pumps in good shape. So meaning that if something happened with one of the pumps, we won't be able to deliver this with the same level, the same flow, and the same pressure to the system. This project has been in the queue for 2 years. It was identified previously, but due to other conditions, other projects, priorities, budget, personnel, so it was delayed to the point that we think that it's critical now and that we should move forward with this project without delay, similarly to the other project that we have currently for the sedimentations. Ponds components replacement that can fail at any time, and we don't want to take the risk. In talking to the manufacturer that actually perform, or the same representative that now work for another company but perform the same type of work in 2016 for the pump called 421, they're giving us good prices, so we are including 2 pumps, rehabilitation for the price that was budget for 1. So it is a good advantage. So we will have 3 new pumps now, let's say, after we complete this project. So we will be in better shape for many years, let's say. With that, there's the cost is included about 141,000, including 10% contingency. And so staff is recommending to the council to approve without delay, without the procurement process, because there's many unknowns. Once the pump is removed, they will be able to check what is exactly the condition. The pictures that are attached are from the pump 421 that is expected to be similar to the condition of these 2 pumps because they were installed at the same time. And they have been running for the same period of time as the base pumps, alternating the 3 of them. So any questions that you have?
Council, any questions, comments?
I got one. Guillermo, you said these are 20 years old.
Correct.
Are these, the pump innards like the impeller and stuff, are those some type of steel or cast iron? Or?
Those are steel. The new technology that they use is to remove these pieces, and they recover with a special coating that is kind of ceramic or something like that that has superior durability than steel.
Oh, I was going to ask if they've made any advancements in 20 years that
sure.
will make them last longer.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have a question?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Just the 128,000 and then the 10%, the $141,000. That's an estimate, right? We're not sure exactly what it's going to cost.
Exactly.
So we don't know.
Right.
Maybe a little more. It could be a little less.
Could be right. So they were basing the price about 64,000 per pump, based on the previous rehabilitation that they did. But until they remove it and inspect it and put it apart, they will exactly know what needs to be done. But we are thinking that will be very similar to that. Plus, we included 10% contingency just in case, there's something additional.
It's more.
Right.
Okay.
And,
Thank you.
and the fund where it's coming from is an improvement fund, right? It's from the
Right, from
water treatment.
Water treatment.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Okay.
And just for clarification, the whole pump is gonna be replaced, it's not gonna be taken apart and fixed, it's gonna be replaced?
No, it's the same pump,
Oh,
but
it
there
is the
will
same
be, the recommendation is that they do that, the new pump will be super expensive.
Okay.
But they said that doing this, the condition will sometimes be even better than a new one because they put coatings that the new pump doesn't include. So it will be like more resistant, but it will be like brand new because they pretty much put it back to standards, like if it were new. Right.
So
It's
same type of
like doing an
warranty
upgrade to the existing.
And the same type of warranty as if we had.
Right.
done a new-
It is. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
The addition also in this quote is that they will rebuild the motor. So it will be the whole
The whole thing.
rehabilitated.
All right, do we have any further questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
A motion?
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. And looks like Guillermo will stay right there. We'll move to the next item, which will be discussion potential action to adopt resolution number 2019, resolution of the city of Brawley declaring an emergency authorizing repair of traffic signal at Cesar Chavez and Main Street by St. Francis Electric in the approximate amount of $43,750. Backup material, pages 54 through 63.
As described on the materials, the city has been doing several attempts to get it repaired or rehabilitated for an extended period of time. And as you could see, it's not easy to get somebody with that type of experience to perform the work until we were able to secure St. Francis Electric to do the evaluation and give us a quote for that. Even when they were doing the temporary replacement, they were able to find the problem that previously they excluded from the work, not knowing what was the cause of the problem. But so we were lucky that they were able to find it. But since it's a very old facility, we are in coordination with Caltrans, that were the previous owners of this system, to try to locate the length, the location, the type of material for the conduit and the wiring of the pedestrian signal that it is where the problem was originated. And so a couple of weeks ago, they were trying to do that, but when they found this problem, we instructed them to keep it on flashing mode until they replace this wiring that was the cause of the problem. It is expected that they will come back this week to do that. And since it is very difficult to put a scope and the timing for to do a bid, so we are recommending to do it as an emergency, because if not, it will take a significant amount of time to go the procurement route.
Okay.
Any questions?
Again, I open up to council.
So they're just going to replace the cabinet. They're not going to put a temporary one in because of the issues that they
will.
found.
They will put a temporary one because the permanent, it will take from 14 to 16
So they're
weeks.
going to put a temporary one in, but they're going to fix the problem that
Correct.
might destroy the temporary one.
Correct, yes, exactly.
All right, okay. Okay, just want to make sure.
Is this still a loaner cabinet?
Yes, this one will be a rental, a temporary, until the permanent arrived, and they will do the switch.
And so that will be an additional cost for the
It
new
is
cabinet.
included on the material. The 43,000 includes the rental and the permanent.
Oh, okay. That was my question.
Okay. $43,000 for a traffic light.
What-
Yeah.
What is,
That's a lot of money.
I think the
Well,
question
let's-
was asked before, is this something we can anticipate for all the signals that are part of our responsibility in the near future?
They are now.
No, but I mean, can we anticipate that we will have these types of repairs that will need to happen in the near future with the rest of the signals that are in our right of
It
way?
is difficult to predict if they are going to fail. But we entered into an agreement with the City of El Centro to provide those maintenance services. Unfortunately, these type of problem were beyond the crew that they have, because it's not very big. Plus, they provide the same type of service to other jurisdictions. So they don't have, a stock of parts like this. So it is difficult. They were able to fix when it's something that they can repair, but a full replacement like this is going to be difficult. We try, as described on the material, with 4 different companies, and they either declined or they were far, they were not interested. So it's not an easy task.
And
Yeah,
Councilmember
and I think
Hamby.
they had,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just one item of note, when this portion of the roadway was relinquished, part of relinquishment responsibility is not just the maintenance of the physical, the surface,
Got
but
it.
also all of the traffic
Right, yeah,
signals that come with
exactly.
it. So the funds that will be utilized in order to address this repair will ultimately be programmed out of the relinquishment funds. But it's something to keep in mind that maintenance maybe isn't just the surface that we
Sure,
think
yeah.
of as the roadway
yeah.
condition.
And I think this particular case, it was a short that was very difficult to trace, so it wasn't something that was easily found.
Right.
So-
Yes, it was under the surface,
Yeah.
and who knows if it's something that was a conduit crack, a wiring, or maintenance work that pulled a wire, stripped the coating, and water intrusion. So we don't know exactly what happened. An earthquake, maybe, cracked the conduit.
Mud pot, maybe?
Mud pot.
A little one.
Let's hope not.
So it's good to have St. Francis in your Rolodex for.
Yeah.
Yeah, most likely. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I just had one question. On the, do we have an agreement, and do we have a contract with the city of El Centro to
Yes.
provide these repairs?
Right.
Would it be, do we have an idea how much we pay, or is
We
that
can,
something?
if you'd like a report prepared, we can bring it to you so you can see what we spent maybe in the last 3 years as it relates to traffic signal maintenance.
It's not much.
Not
No.
much?
I think it's
I was just
mainly
wondering
minor.
if it might be something that maybe one of our staff could learn, we could send to learn that, with the concern that possibly we may have problems with the future signal lights. I don't know, I'm not sure how much that would entail, but that might be something to look at.
We could prepare something that looks like a cost-benefit analysis. El Centro, as I understand it, actually addresses the maintenance needs of multiple jurisdictions, so they have a crew
Yeah, they're well
of
equipped for it.
specialized
We're not, yeah.
personnel.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any further questions, comments? If not, if we want to move forward, we'll make a motion. Do I have a motion?
Make
So
a
moved.
motion?
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
No. So moved.
I'll make the second. I'll second that.
All right, motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Very good. Thank you, Guillermo. We'll move to item 3D. This will be discussion and potential action to adopt resolution number 2019. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, adopting a Lion Center pool cost recovery policy for the Brawley Elementary School District and Brawley Union High School as public institutions. Pages 64 and 66 for the resolution and backup.
And we do have copies for the audience if anyone is interested in them as well. Mayor Wharton, this item has been a topic before the council on numerous occasions in prior budget cycles. And as council may recall, a number of years ago, we were a city with the ability to provide for pool usage to our school organizations at no cost. And a number of years ago, we recognized that our ability to operate the pool year-round, being the resource that it is, and capital intensive and operational intensive facility that it is, that it would be prudent to take a closer look at what it costs to operate it annually and determine whether or not there might be an opportunity for cost sharing. At the time, I was in dialogue with the former superintendent, Ron Garcia, and at the time, Dr. Hasmik Danielian. And we went through the exercise of data capture on what it took to run the pool. At that time, we were able to secure the participation of both the Brawley Elementary School District and the Brawley Union High School District to pay a nominal fee on an annual basis that assumed a certain level of use throughout the school year. And so we sat down and very informally determined that in a school year, the Brawley Elementary School District at most utilizes the pool for 2 months of the year. And so we entered into an MOU with them that captured 2 months of use at $500 a month. And the intention was to begin some form of cost sharing, but recognizing that the actual amount charged was far less than the cost of the operations themselves. We were successful in renewal of those arrangements over several years, and in anticipation of a number of very challenging budget issues that are going to be before this council in the near future. We did another close look at the cost of operations, and included in the backup, you'll find a summary of expenses that we aim to summarize on a annual basis. What we did for the purposes of this model to try to get to a figure that was perhaps more reasonable and within reach to our program partners was to exclude the cost of capital expenses and the actual staffing of the pool, and instead just look at the line items of chemicals, electrical supplies, plumbing supplies, other operating supplies, small tools and minor equipment, electricity, natural gas, technical services, repair and maintenance. And together we combined those figures to determine that on a daily basis, 365 days a year, it costs $427 a day to operate our pool. And again, this is excluding staff and excluding capital projects. And we determined that if we were to include the staffing that's necessary to keep the pool in operation from a maintenance point of view, this figure would increase to approximately $536 per day. What's shown in the backup is a capture of all of the 18-19 expenses minus capital improvements and staffing for a daily average and a monthly average. And what I have prepared for council's consideration this evening is 2 cost recovery concepts that might be possible to apply to the schools, the 2 school districts. And a daily rate is proposed at 25% of cost recovery at $107, and a monthly rate at 10% cost recovery, which would be applied if the organization used the pool 15 days or more in a year, and we can write out very specific procedures for this. We are proposing charging approximately $1,300 a month. So included in the backup for council's consideration is a resolution on page 64. It lays out the purpose of our Lions Center pool, which is this incredible resource that we're able to offer year-round. And also specifically designates the 2 school districts as beneficiaries of access to the pool year-round, and proposes the cost recovery concepts at 10% for monthly rates and 25% for daily rates if less than 15 days in any single month would be used. And if you have any further questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Questions from council?
Have you spoken to the school districts?
I have spoken with both the elementary school district and the high school district. The high school district has indicated through communication through the administration that they are prepared to accept the terms of this MOU. I would not be surprised if we see more widespread use on an annual basis. The good news is that I don't think it's going to deter access to the pool, and hopefully it better supports the city in providing this year-round resource to the community. The elementary school district has expressed some concerns as recently as Friday It was indicated that perhaps something in the ballpark of $1,000 would be more suitable. And what I shared in communication was that the intent is to really shift this conversation to cost recovery and how cost recovery changes over time. And year over year, the cost of running the pool changes over time. So it's not so much about a set fixed amount with a ceiling, in as much as it is sensitizing to the actual cost of operating the pool and capturing some portion of a service charge or a use fee in return. I do think there are some mechanisms, if the council would like me to spend some time further exploring, where perhaps year one could be 1,000, and then it's an agreement that in subsequent years the cost recovery will be implemented. Or we could do a 2-year term and find a way to write in the format, because typically these MOUs have been just 1-year terms.
I think that it's you know, we focused in on cost recovery, not just for the pool, but other things that we were doing across the city. So, and I think honestly the fee is relatively low. I mean, I know that, for example, El Centro, with their project, their aquatic center, that's a $16 million project, and just the staffing for the year is about $1.3 million. So that is enormous amount of money. And I think for the value that we have here and the resource, I think it's, you know, it's the fee is just a fraction of what it's costing. So I think it's fair.
Go ahead, Luke.
I agree. I think the fee is fair, and in the situation that we're in as far as our budget constraints go, I think, as we've discussed before, anything we can do to try to approach cost recovery on some of the offerings that we have, that the costs are only going up. I think anything we can do toward that end is prudent. I would ask, though, that, I mean, as we all know, communication is key. I don't know if part of their hesitation is just that they haven't seen the numbers. If all of the school board hasn't seen the numbers to understand, you know, what we're up against for operating costs. So I don't. Is there a school board meeting?
Yeah. So as a school board member, I want to speak on behalf of the entire district. But we're not opposed to the hike rate. But we just would like, in the spirit of being a good neighbor, being informed, and like the same thing you said here to say before our board. I guarantee you share all the work. Listen, it's nothing in life. Nothing is free, and the cost to maintain and keep the pool, and the work that goes into. I guarantee you say that before our school board, there'll be a better appreciation and respect, not just from the board, but throughout all staff. We might want to even throw in some more, or contribute, or collaborate even further. It's not so much. It's not against the rate. It's more of, we'd like, for in the spirit of transparency, of collaboration, of partnership, of the relationship, to just go before a board and inform. This is everything we do that goes into keeping our pool clean, keeping our pool safe, and being a resource for your students. We use the heck out of it. I mean, kids are in and out of there. So I guess that's what I would like is to, like I said, table this item, come before a board next meeting, explain everything that goes into it, and I guarantee you good will come out of it. Like I say, I know we're at the whim of you guys, but we're not opposed to the rate. Like I said, we know it costs a tremendous amount. It's just the communication. So that's all I have to say.
That I would, my only comment, thank you for that, would just be, I think as outlined by our city manager, this has been an ongoing, very public discussion that's been going on actually for years. We went from 0, so this has been pretty darn transparent going through the process. And the other thing is, I believe, speaking executive to executive, my assumption is that the appropriate executive would be briefing the board, and if necessary, we're always open to come in to represent. So I just want to make that clear. I don't think there was any lack of per se communication. There might be maybe within a particular institution, I don't know. But just meaning, I don't know if it was the superintendent or transition, but my opinion is there's no issue there, I think, on our part as far as sharing that. I still have questions about the cost recovery strategy here, so just in light of that, but it sounds like our Mayor Pro Tem's trying to.
Well, I just wanted to contribute that we have been discussing this every year when we look at our budget and had been addressing the need to talk to our schools to see if they would be willing to help out with the reimbursement. And I do believe that it's common knowledge that it's been expressed to a lot of the representatives from the schools. And from the communication that I've had with some of the school representatives, I think they're in agreement. And the cost of that we're recommending is, I consider it to be very minimal, considering the use that our school districts and the public get from our pools. So I consider it to be very reasonable. And I do believe, I'm not sure, Rosanna, you said if we delayed this, what would be, there might be an implication if we delayed it or not?
So what we're currently doing, we have an expired MOU. I didn't think it was worthwhile to initiate a renewal on the $500 basis. The goal is to roll out this year. It hasn't prevented us from providing access to students. We figured we could nail this down at a point in the near future. If the council's wish is for us to proceed with preparation of that MOU, we certainly are prepared to do so, and I'm hopeful that we can get signatures on the agreements. I did share with both superintendents that the total cost of the MOU arrangement is very likely within their signature authority. I know I have one of the lowest signature authorities of any executive in Imperial County, and that's established via city ordinance, and it's been in place that way in Brawley for quite some time. Mine's at $15,000. So, you know, my hope is that we can iron out these details. Communication's always fantastic. I think it's an eye-opener for a lot of people to understand how expensive it is to operate a pool year-round, and because our fee structure has not accelerated at the same rate as the costs going up, that we've offered this incredible access that maybe has been overlooked in terms of what it poses as an expense.
Well, yeah, definitely. I think as council, I feel we've done all we can. I think it's been years in history of providing the services, really pro bono, which is, we're been one of definitely the attributes. But when the two institutions came on originally, as you gave the background, Rosanna, just as a refresher, you said 500. Are they both the high school and the elementary school are paying the same?
They are, but because their typical use is fewer months of the year from the elementary school district, so we structured the MOU around 2 months of assumed use. So it's $1,000 a year. And for the high school, if memory serves me correctly, it's 4 months that we base the MOU value on, so it's $2,000. Is 10% the right number? Maybe we can't afford 10% in the future, but for now it's a movement in the direction.
Okay, so just what's before us, I just want to be clear, we're moving from what was $500 a month to now, based on the detail provided here, the itemized expenses minus some of the specifics that you brought up, we're looking at obviously really close to $1,300. So going from $500 to $1,300, so about an $800 a month. What about are there non-institutional users and members
there
of the
are,
public?
and based on the feedback at the budget sessions, I have not prepared a similar policy. If it is the council's wish to go in that direction, we certainly can. The groups that have historically used the pool on an annual and consistent basis are Sunstrokers and IVDA. Sunstrokers is just during the summer months. IVDA is year-round. IVDA was structured at a $500 per month arrangement. Again, their MOUs are up, the MOU with IVDA is up for renewal, and I understood the direction provided by council to keep it at the $500 rate. But if there is another direction that council wants to go with cost recovery, that is certainly a direction we're ready to take.
And what is the IBDA rate?
500. Everybody was kind of universally, anybody we collected
500.
from, if they were going to use the pool for 15 days or more in a given month, we're going to charge the $500 amount. And one other just kind of important fact as context, when we hold private parties at the pool where a user, any member of the public can come in and fill out a facilities request form and rent the pool, we are typically charging the user greater than the daily rate that we're proposing to charge the schools. So there is kind of a price break that's a part of this that's meant to honor the important relationship that we have with the school districts and give the largest number of people possible access to the pool.
And Roseanne, just one last follow-up from me, and then I'll be done. We'll move forward unless there's any other questions. And so both superintendents have been shared this information?
Yes.
Okay.
This form? This
Yes,
total?
both the reso and the breakdown of annual costs.
Okay.
And do you know if they've taken it to their board yet?
They have not taken it to their board.
Okay.
But they indicated agreement with you.
Superintendent Canales indicated he concurs with what's proposed. Our newest superintendent to the elementary school district, Dr. Rich Ruendaug. I think I've got that right. Indicated that he has some reservations, that he preferred the $1,000 mark as a maximum, or he would like to have more of a process considered. And I did explain to him that this has been an ongoing discussion piece, and that we didn't take it to the Parks and Rec Commission, and we didn't take it to the council for additional input. We were taking the direction from budget sessions. So it's certainly up to the council how you wish to carry it.
Revisit this so many times either. I mean, we have decided as a council that we're moving forward, you know, so.
I would just ask that maybe we give them till their next meeting, the elementary school board, to their next meeting next week, so that Dr. Rundhaug can present the paperwork that he has to the board, and then on our 17th meeting, move forward with this resolution.
One way that maybe council wants to consider the MOU, this isn't the MOU. This is just the driving policy to inform the MOU preparation. I assume he may wish to take that to his board, or if you want to hold on all.
Why don't we just move forward, because then that may delay us as well, because what we're looking at is cost recovery. That's the item for us to consider. And so I think we've talked about that in the past. We've talked about it multiple times, at least with this particular topic. So let's move forward with that. And then the MOU still needs to go before for approval, and we go from there.
And to the point, I was just going to mention, to the point, that the net cash here, we're not talking like this is a $26,000 decision. It's 11.
Right.
So
$50 decisions.
yeah, I just want to make it clear to the public, it's not that we are. So the policy framework will be in place. We've discussed this to Councilmember Nava's point ad nauseum, really. To move forward tonight with the policy puts framework in place. The MOU itself is actually a separate matter, a discussion that'll work within the framework here. Is that correct? Okay. So that gives that time. Yes.
And I understand that. However, you've put a figure in this policy, and with that figure in the policy, that sounds like you're giving them that figure, and it's that figure or nothing. If we're going to negotiate, then I think there should not have been a figure in here, and it should be a negotiated thing, because we're talking about an MOU. Well, if we reduce the amount, then we're negotiating.
It's cost recovery. But that's what I'm saying. We're not negotiating a reduced amount. We're talking about cost recovery. And what they've come up with is the actual figures it's costing us. They're using a factor of 10%. They're using a factor of whatever the other amount, I'm sorry.
25 for daily rate.
25%. So we're going based off that.
I understand that. However, we're sitting there talking, this is not the MOU, But if it is the MOU and we decide to reduce that, we've got a policy that states one amount, and we've got an MOU that states another, and I'm not sure that's the way we want to go. If we want a policy that we're going to establish cost recovery with the schools and present this as a policy, then I think that we need to give them an opportunity to look at that from a school board side. I don't think the school administrator can make that decision for the school board. If that's,
I think they
at
can.
least
They
in
have the
my-
signing authority. The amount that we're talking about is very minimal. I think we're overthinking this. We just made a commitment to spend $141,000 on a pump, and that took us 2 minutes, and we're focused on.
No, yeah,
you
I
know,
think the point, like,
$12.
I think what is the communication collaboration. If we're gonna make a decision as a board, a school board, that would affect your budget and money and your pockets, I think we'd want like the courtesy for us to come at least before the board and explain it. You know, we are at the whim of you guys, and I'm asking just for communication, better transparency, and I want to see you guys at our meetings. I've been on that school board almost a year. I've yet to see any of you. Our schools are the key to our city, and that's all I'm asking for. It's better collaboration, communication, and transparency at all levels. So, like I said, I'm not opposed to the hike. I mean, I know in the past I've been opposed to some taxes and funds and whatnot. With this, I'm not. I understand. It costs money to manage and maintain a pool and improve upon it. All I'm asking for is come before the board, like Sam said, and then come back again and pass it. I mean, it's just communication, collaboration, and bringing our city together. And so that's all. That's what I have to say. And we have a new superintendent who just started in July. New MOT manager who also started in July. New migrant ed director, new principals. It's a whole new change at Brawley Elementary. So even though discussions have been held for the past several years, there's a change in our administration that is trying to get caught up to everything that Brawley has to offer. So that's the point. I know it's a minimal amount. It's just kind of the principle and in the spirit of being a good neighbor and a fellow board. So thank you.
That's one of the questions I was going to ask is if there's a lot of new administration there. And in light of that, I would respectfully ask that we table this until the 17th meeting, so that they have a chance to just get everybody up to speed on it that's not.
Maybe they'll offer more money.
Maybe they will.
That would be nice.
All right, let's, Rosanna, is there any, do you see any detrimental effects to that? I think there was by that. Then we'll certainly go do that. I want to say this again, if I could, in the comment. I don't actually appreciate saying we haven't been to a school board meeting when this council's been to multiple commissions, committees, meetings. There's a lot of time involved in being a public official. So I think there's other ways of saying that. So I do appreciate you attending our meeting and being a part of it and making the comment. But I think if in the spirit of that partnership, I have attended to some invites and toured the elementary school and some campuses, which I was graciously met with, so I appreciate that. So I just want to make that very clear. This council is very interested in seeing that move forward. But if there's not a detrimental effect to the timing relief, we'll explain that. Furthermore, our new superintendent, I've welcomed him at our pool, swimming in the next lane to him multiple times. So, you know, we've had
And we
this
participated in the hiring of that superintendent as well. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's been a lot of involvement, but yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. That item's tabled. It'll take us to item E, which will be discussion and potential action to approve Resolution 2019. And we're moving to the portion here of our agenda dealing with our wonderful commissions and trustees and many that contribute other aspects of the city. So item E is our discussion and potential action to approve Resolution 2019, Resolution of the City of Brawley for the members of the Brawley Airport Advisory Commission with terms ending June 30th, 2021, pages 67 through 71. We have applications, which I might add to the public is available in the packet if you do have that and online, as well as I'm sure our council members have reviewed those. I made a few notes just to make it a little bit easier for me, so I'm not flipping necessarily through the pages. For the Brawley Airport Advisory Commission, we have 2 openings at this point, with one incumbent, Mr. Tony Friley, and then we have 2 new applicants with Elizabeth Kern and Juan Diego Tavares. So beginning with item E, Airport Advisory Commission, I can make this easy and just kind of maybe start down the right. Are there any, we have 2 spots, 3 applicants. Maybe go with recommended nomination or designation, and then this is by appointment or is it by resolution?
This is by
mayoral appointment, right?
mayoral
Okay.
appointment.
But I'd like, obviously, my council input, so.
Are any of the candidates here that would like to make any comments?
Thank you.
Not for the
I didn't
airport
see.
commission. Oh, yes, we do.
We do have.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right.
We do have one here.
Juan Diego?
If one,
Mr. Tavares?
just being that I know, Mr. Farley, one, if you want, I'll give you the opportunity if you just want to say a word, or you don't have to, but certainly you're more than welcome. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Good evening. Hi. As I may have written down in the application, I'm looking to get more involved with the local community. I know when I was at San Diego State, you know, I've had a lot of instructors mention how important it is to get involved with your local community. So I understand that I applied for these commissions, and I may not have experience, you know, Brawley Airport commission. But as a student, I am, you know, open to learning and
No, that's good.
Perfect.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
That's what we needed to hear.
Interesting.
And we've got your application here as well,
Yep.
so, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tavares. And I see also, yeah, that I'll bring it up a little later down the road, another application. So we have, looks like Miss Elizabeth Kern, Juan Diego Tavares that we just heard from, and Mr. Tony Friley. Maybe if I can help things along, I would like, looks like Mr. Friley expressed his interest in continuing. I would like to make that strong recommendation for many reasons and many, many years of background there at the airport and in all aspects of really the aviation industry and our local airport. So that would be one of my heavy consideration or recommendations there, back to my council members. And then I appreciate hearing from Juan Diego. That was, you know, very helpful. The thing that caught my eye with Elizabeth Kern was not only her aviation experience, as well as very interesting work history, I think, all of which shows her interest that began here in Brawley and has kind of circulated around outside of Brawley and now back to Brawley. So I would like, this is me with consideration ahead of moving forward with Mr. Friley and Elizabeth Kern specifically for the Brawley Airport Advisory Commission. Maybe we go down the list if you have a different consideration. Councilmember Hamby?
No, that, I concur with those.
I concur with those recommendations because of her experience with the aviation and the other businesses that she's been in. And then, Mr. Friday, I like to reappoint the people that want to still continue to serve. So.
Mr. Nava?
No objections, Mayor.
Yes, well, I reviewed Elizabeth Kern's application, and as you indicated, she does have experience in aviation and also has a private pilot license and extensive experience in environmental and safety and management. So I was impressed with her experience. And Mr. Friley also, I think he's been on the commission for many years and is an asset to that commission.
Very good. All right, looks like we have consensus and concurrence there, so all you need is just the direction or the appointment from me. All right.
Action item.
It is a resolution, that's right. Okay, so the slate for Airport Advisory Commission, incumbent Tony Friley and Elizabeth Kern. For the Brawley Advisory Commission, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll move to item F.
I need a motion, we need a motion and a second.
We
We
did
need a
do a
motion
motion.
and a second.
Oh, we didn't
On
do
all
a
of them.
motion. I'll move to nominate Elizabeth Kern and Mr. Friley to the Airport Commission.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a
There's a
second.
second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Item F, we'll move to the Library Board of Trustees. Same here, we have a resolution before us. appointing members. We have two incumbents, very capable and tremendous incumbents, I might add. So without any further ado, do we have a motion to reappoint Crystal Duran and Elizabeth Lorenzen to the Brawley Library Board of Trustees?
I so move.
Oh, okay.
We have
I'll
a
second.
motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say no.
Congratulations.
Mr. Rand, that's the best way to run, unopposed. Yeah. We'll move to the next one, which will be Brawley Parks and Recreation Commission. This is item G. Also, resolution before us. We have two openings with two incumbents, Mr. Victor Estrada and Jenny Benavides. Again, without further ado, that'll be the slate. All those in, do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Seeing no opposition. Very good.
They're good.
We'll move to item H. This will be also before us is a resolution that we need to consider for appointing members to the Brawley Planning Commission with terms ending June 30th, 2023. Applications are in the backup material, pages 80 through 88. We have two openings with 6 candidates, two of which are the incumbents, Mr. Darren Smith, Mr. Robert Palacio.
I'm sorry, Donnie, it's 3.
There's
Three
three.
openings.
Three
Oh,
openings
I did
for
not see that.
planning.
We've got an error
On the agenda, yeah.
Okay.
There's 3.
It's on the resolution now.
Yeah, there's 3.
Yes.
We'll correct that for the record. We have 3 openings. So with 2 incumbents, Mr. Darren Smith, Mr. Robert Palacio. And again, we have applicant Elizabeth Kern, applicant Juan Diego Tavares, applicant Oscar Pemberton, and applicant John Brooks Hamby. Open this up for discussion.
Since we appointed Ms. Kern to the Airport Commission, we probably would not consider her for the Planning Commission, I think, at this point in time.
I would concur with that.
I concur with that, unless there's any reservation there, we'll take that out. Any further open discussion?
I
Your
would
thoughts?
be in favor of appointing the 2 incumbents, and just for your own consideration here, Mr. Juan Diego, he is here. I would like to give him an opportunity. He came up to speak before us, and it's a new
Very
set of
good.
eyes.
Very good. Any other discussion? Nominations, ideas?
I'm leaning toward Oscar Pemberton. That's just me,
It seems as though Mr. Pemberton has some pretty good experience in business, and I think it would probably be helpful to have that insight on the Planning Commission. John Brooks Hamby is related to me. He has quite an application here, but I can't comment on that. So.
I also lean toward Oscar. I have spoken to Oscar. We've had a discussion, but I mean, I know who he is. I don't know him real well, but he has some experience in the home improvement industry, which would be more in the construction, probably more construction side, and 35 years in the produce industry, and then retail 15 years. So, I mean, I would have to lean that way in terms of experience.
I look for a new set of eyes. We do have real estate brokers on the Planning Commission. We have people that have that experience. And, you know, oftentimes when there's been important decisions to be made, they come straight to us, you know. And so I don't know how much the experience counts. But again, I would just say Mr. Juan Diego's here. He came up, he was a little nervous, but, you know, he put himself out there and he's willing to learn. He's a student.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be willing to give him that opportunity. If,
I would just like to comment the same thing, that Mr. Tavares made the effort to come before the council and show interest in serving the community, so I would concur with that.
And I guess I'll chime in with, again, I always appreciate the applicants because, you know, we certainly know that on our various boards and commissions and committees, you don't always get folks that are willing to step up and put themselves out there or fill out the application. So I definitely appreciate that. And with that said, they're really all great candidates in their own right, you know, in terms of what they might bring. I think we have you know, quite a group already on the commission, and I think looking at it a little bit through my fellow council members here, getting a fresh idea, maybe a little different perspective. Maybe I too am interested in what Mr. Tavares, you know, might be able to do being here. So not just being here, but I think more importantly, again, the fresh perspective. But again, you know, Mr. Pemberton, Mr. Hamby, certainly with his take on things. I think looking at the city, they're all great candidates. But I'm inclined to maybe at least we can consider for our vote here for consideration our two incumbents for the Planning Commission, Mr. Darren Smith, Mr. Robert Palacio, and Juan Diego Tavares. Do we have a motion for that in a second?
I'll make a motion to appoint the three individuals you just mentioned.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, so let me put it to a vote here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sure. Any opposed?
It's his choice.
No opposition, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Tavares, and that's our new slate of
See, it helps to come up here.
Would you like to come back up? Maybe make a comment?
You'll be good.
Very good. That'll take us out of regular business. Appreciate that, everyone. Thank you, council, for your input.
We do have one remaining item, Mayor Wharton, under regular business.
Oh, we do. That's hidden under. My bad. We have item H, discussion and potential action for the council to consider another date here, a meeting date of October 15th, which will be in conflict with our annual California League of Cities Conference. So I guess we'll open that up to what do we want to do.
So I believe the conference starts on the 16th in the morning, and because of how long council meetings run into the evening in former years, council has sometimes directed to hold the meeting on the Tuesday prior or the Tuesday following, but whatever works best for you, staff is open to support.
Open it up to council as far as want to consider the movement first off, or do we keep it on that night? And I don't know how many. I was intending on attending the conference. So who's?
I'm attending also.
I won't be attending the conference. The only thing that I do is I have a meeting on the fourth Tuesday of every month that I'm an officer in an organization, and so if we could move it to a day that's not the fourth Tuesday, I don't have any problem with any of the other Tuesdays.
Or Monday.
So our regular meeting date's
or a
the
Monday.
first.
I certainly would be available
What's that
on a Monday.
That's Columbus Day? Or what is that?
Yeah.
But
Columbus
we don't
Day.
have Columbus Day.
But we
off
could go to
as
the
a holiday.
21st.
No.
We could also go to the
The
21st.
14th is a Monday.
Yeah, we could do that too.
That could be
Yeah.
a possibility.
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
Are we
on
traveling
Monday.
on the 14th?
Yeah,
No?
what time
None of
does
us
the
are?
I think
conference
you
start?
travel on the 15th because it starts on the 16th.
Okay, all
It's
right.
Thanksgiving
Oh,
in
okay.
Canada.
Okay.
Just funny.
Are there?
I think
14th is
Monday,
good.
the 14th looks good.
That's good
My
for me.
calendar, I
Is a
don't know.
good
if they
I
possibility.
think I could do that.
It's Indigenous Peoples' Day, it says.
Can you do Indigenous?
That-
We could
that would be-
celebrate that.
This is
day.
not a nationwide holiday. It may not be observed in your region, so.
Indigent, maybe.
Indigent people?
As far as I know, I can make that 14th.
Okay, let's move it to that.
The 14th.
It's
Looks
looking like the
it's
14th
what
is
Columbus would
looking
have
at.
wanted.
I would.
On Columbus Day.
It's what he would have wanted.
Yes, what he would want, yes.
You
You're
look back
speaking
again,
for?
that requires, we don't need a motion on that.
No.
or
Have
yeah,
it as an
potential
action, but does it need to be
No,
an action?
no.
No, because it'll be
Okay.
posted.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be posted.
All right, very good. Thank you, council. We'll move that meeting to the 14th, move it up a day earlier.
Would that be
That's-
considered a special meeting though? Yeah, because it is,
Special, but
it
we-
is a special meeting.
On the
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we can move to our departmental reports. Under 4A will be Personnel and Risk Management Department.
Honorable Mayor, council members, Shirley Benias, Personnel and Risk Management. On page 89 is your monthly staffing report. Just want to remind council, you're invited to our swearing in of a police officer on September 24th. 9 a.m. So the 4 that you see open will go down to 3 with the appointment. And we do have 2 dispatchers and backgrounds. And we're finalizing our Public Works Assistant Chief Water Treatment Plant. And we had very successful interviews for an Operator 3 at the water treatment plant. So hopefully that will finalize very soon. And of course, I'll answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Very good. Council, questions, comments, reports in our backup? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Mendez. Move to the next departmental report, 4B, update on emergency construction for the water treatment plant, the 2 sedimentation basins, as well as the traffic signal at Cesar Chavez and Maine, which I believe we did discuss, but.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Guillermo Sillas, Public Works Director. The emergency continues on the water treatment plant regarding this sedimentation components replacement project, and the manufacturer continues to prepare the job drawings that will be submitted to the consultant that we have to review those, and then verify the measurements on the field and be able to schedule the installation in the month of October. For the traffic signal, I pretty much mentioned during the item for approval of the council that it is expected that this week they will come back to do the temporary installation of the cabinet and the repair of the wiring of the conduits for the pedestrian signals. Any questions that you might have?
Mayor Wharton, may I make one quick comment? Anytime we have the emergency procurement, we're required for each council meeting that occurs to give you an update until the projects are completed. So on a going forward basis, we'll add in the pumps and motors and Cesar Chavez and Maine, and then our sedimentation basins. And
Thank
so
you.
We'll try to keep
Understood.
it brief.
Yeah. Questions, comments for Guillermo? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to our next item, which will be the city treasurer's report. And that it sounds like it's going to be different. I look this way. This will be in our investment summary as of June 30th, 2019, with the investment backup materials in pages 90 and 91.
Where is it there, Elmo? Sorry. Tyler Salcido, Finance Director, City of Brawley. I'm trying to find...
You're the sharpest looking finance director in the valley, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I agree.
You know?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Always comes up here looking good.
It's amazing what a thrift store will do for you.
Hey, whatever
I
it
know,
is,
that
you know, it
doesn't
works.
look like thrift store. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
On
That's
the
it.
one of them, yes. Hard to see.
That's kind of hard to see, but it's the same document that's in your packet. It was just up there. Can you make it bigger?
It's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got it.
See it here.
So what you have in front of you is investment activity report that is coming to the board council. I'm still on the other. To the council for on a quarterly basis moving forward. It is in the investment policy that's been adopted by the council, I think back in 2013, that it needs to be reported out at a minimum of a quarterly basis moving forward. What you have in front of you is everything, all the city's monies that are not in the operating Union Bank checking account. So what you have there is LAIF. You start up there, you got 15 million, approximately 15 million. LAIF is what I consider overnight funds, where you have immediate access to it if there's a need. So it's not tied up in any type of long-term CD type of instruments. Below that, you have the current CDs that the city has locally at some local branches or financial institutions. As you see there, just to go down there briefly, Sun Community, you see one maturing there in July. This report is based as of June 30th. That is no longer there. As you can see, the interest rate was 0.25%.
Yeah, it's 0.25%. It's
Yeah,
nothing. I mean,
so
it's costing us money parking it there, you know?
Yes. So I had since under the per the investment policy, I I have moved that out. And
They're borrowing $1 million of ours, $2 million for 0.25%. Think about that.
That's crazy.
Think about that.
Yeah, and that was a 12-month CD.
Yeah.
So it came up in July. I since then have moved 500,000 to MBS, which is below, and the other 500 is in Union Bank under for the operating account. First, Imperial Credit Union, they're coming due. There's a $2 million there. They're coming due in September. At that time, I will review this month and see what our options are and the best options for the best rates. Sun Community, I imagine I'm going to have to move that come January. And CV Bank, Community Valley Bank had just renewed in June.
That's good.
But that's why it's there, because that's a real good rate.
Think about the return on that. Just in that $1 million in that same time, that was $3,300 or $3,400 in earnings there, as opposed to the $1 million at Sun Community made $656.
Yep.
I mean, that is just insane.
It is insane.
Yes, and so those are the monies that are held locally. The MBS multi-bank securities is where we have an investment advisor. His name is Peter Yanez. Since I speak to him almost at least weekly, sometimes every other day on the phone, a daily email about what's coming up, what are the rates, what's going on, and he's the advisor for us where we. I'm not making these decisions based on just mine.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sorry. Who is he with?
He's with MBS, which is the all listed below there. It's multi-bank securities.
Okay.
That's all those that are the big long list there.
Okay.
And those are multiple CDs. How do you go forward? There we go. Okay, that continues there. If I could skip real fast to the third slide. Oh, where's the third slide?
We only have two.
We only have two papers.
No, I have, but this one, I put together to help explain what's going on with MBS. What this is what we call a laddered type of investment, where you see, this is on a yearly basis here. Every year we have so much coming due. So you can see there, I have what's coming due in 2020. When I say due, the CDs are maturing. Hold on a second here. Let me grab my papers. So in 2020, there's $1.2 million that are coming due. 21 is $4.6 million. 22, 4.9. 23, 1.7. And in 24 is $986,000. And the idea is to stretch them out, rotating it. So when 2020 comes, 21's moving up, and they're available in the next year. And we'll see what the rates are doing in 2025, et cetera. What that does is it levels out the risk of what the interest rates are doing, and provides for a more steady, reliable type of return on that. Let's see, on my notes here, yeah, okay, I told you about what's going on there. Okay, I think that's the extent of the report, unless there's some other questions on there.
The only thing you might make aware of people is that some of these institutions can only take $1 million. That's all they're willing to take at a certain rate. So sometimes we can't just say everything can't go to Community Valley Bank at, at $5 million. They won't take $5 million.
Yeah, well, and if there's the FDIC insurance rate on top of that, you need to spread it out.
So that's the reason for the spread, just so the public knows, I think, because we've been told that, but the public sometimes doesn't realize that.
Good point.
The original intention of the investment policy was to approach every banking institution within Brawley's city limits.
Yep. And before this, I can remember the returns we were receiving were minimal. So
From LAIF.
Yeah. Before LAIF caught up, and basically
and
now is the opposite.
Yeah, and those are dropping.
Now LAIF's better than that. I remember when it was worse.
Tyler, that was going to be my question. Just is there a potential? Are there good reasons as far as the kind of intermediate term strategy to kind of revisit LAIF and considering that?
For sure, that should be done all the time. I'm not moving too many monies around at this time because I want to get through the audits, caught up, make sure I understand completely our operating expenses, and that's so I get more familiar with everything before you make any type of drastic changes and potentially move out some liquid funds that may be needed for some reason I'm not aware of right now.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, definitely.
Fair enough. Very good. Any questions? Any further comment? Thank you very much to our city treasurer for the report from our finance director.
Thank you.
We'll move to our next item. Item 6 will be city council member reports, and we'll begin with council member Hamby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to report. I did attend a groundbreaking ceremony for a First Imperial Credit Union in the old Burger King building. I did get some negative feedback about that bank from my 3-year-old because they got rid of the playground inside, but other than that, it looks to be a pretty nice building. I did get to catch the tail end of a beautifying our Old Town Committee meeting at Sylvia's Little Treasures this past week, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and energy there for new businesses that are opening up downtown and on Main Street and surrounding area, and hope that as the weather cools that there will be more foot traffic in and out of those stores there. I'm looking forward to the Brawley Creamery opening personally. Could go for some ice cream. I did receive some phone calls, some concerns from citizens that I've passed on to the city manager at various times. And one of those in the past has been railroad crossing conditions at on Malin and on B Street. And so I just wanted to voice my appreciation for the work that's been done on the railroad crossings recently and ongoing. I did also receive a concern about what looks to be a homeless encampment springing up between K and Malin near the railroad, so I passed that on to the city manager. So I do appreciate people being multiple sets of eyes around town and letting us know what's going on, because I think we each have our beaten path that we drive every day, and make an effort to go out of the way sometimes just to see condition of roads and what else happening throughout the city. But it's good to have people that have our numbers on speed dial and let us know when things aren't the way they should be. And I also wanted to echo what Councilmember Nava said about community members putting themselves out there, filling out these applications for the different commissions and boards, and making an effort to participate in city administration and governance. And I think by and large people like to go home at the end of the day, be with their family, watch some TV, eat some dinner, and go to bed. And so to add responsibility to your plate, it takes somebody who's who's willing to help out in the community. And I do appreciate everyone who's made that effort, including Mr. Tavares. And that's it for my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Hamby. Councilmember Couchman.
I don't have a lot to report. I did attend the dove hunting on September 1. It was a good event. I think, I'll get on my soapbox for a minute and say that I believe that California is in the process of killing hunting. There are requirements for steel shot when no steel shot was available. There's a whole lot of things that went on out there that I think has really affected hunting, and it affects us economically here in the valley, in Brawley. I'm sure that over the entire valley, and I believe that we had fewer hunters, and I don't think we had the numbers and the people in the motels and the people at the restaurants that we've had in the past. And I think that's a result of some of the new state requirements that have been put on for hunting and buying of the ammunition and all of those types of things. So I think if that continues, we may find ourselves without that source of revenue in the future, and I think we need to be cognizant of that. I did hunt with some people from the railroad, and they said on Thursday they're slated to work on the B Street crossing, I believe. One of the crossings anyway. They indicated to me they would be there, and they indicated to me that they would like one of us to bring them breakfast. I opted out and volunteered Luke, but no, I didn't. But I told them I would bring them breakfast, but I might be out of town, but I'm going to plan probably to be in town. So I'll take them breakfast. They said from Johnny's it'd be fine, and they gave an order and everything else. But no, I think it's neat that they're working, though, on those railroad crossings, and they kind of filled me in that they would be over there working, I think, on Thursday. So, and that's all I really have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Couchman. Councilmember Nava.
I was able to enjoy a little bit of time off from in August, and obviously work has kept me very busy, but I just want to thank everybody for the work that you're putting in, all of staff. I know everybody's working hard, taking on new roles, even, our fire chief. Everybody's doing something different. Everybody's working hard, so I appreciate that. But I'm also excited to see some new businesses coming in, not just in downtown, but throughout our community. And we do have new businesses coming in, new improvements, hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on those improvements, so that's exciting. And we're having Los Cabos open up as well, and that's exciting for that area. I think that business will bring a lot of traffic in, and I think it's going to be good for everybody. So let's keep that momentum going, and I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Nava. Our Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I was able to attend also the First Imperial Credit Union groundbreaking, and so that was a very nice turnout out there, and I think people are looking forward to another bank in that area. I did wonder if they were going to keep the playground in there, so I went and I looked, but no, of course they didn't.
Sam in there?
Then I just as an update, I know you've seen that big building that's going up on Pano Road, and that's the Katie Santillan's administrative health building. Seems to be moving pretty fast, and so looking forward to her grand opening in a few months. And then I did attend the BOHS safety meeting on behalf of our mayor. He had another obligation, and so I was able to attend that meeting along with our fire chief and our police sergeant or commander, our commander, and it was very interesting, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to attend that meeting because it was an eye-opener for me on all the things that are going on at the school and all the things that the administration at the school is looking at to improve the safety of our kids at the schools. So that was, thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed that. And then I did address a few issues. I wanted to thank Rosanna and staff also. There was a concern from a pastor in the downtown area regarding his water bill, and he brought that to my attention, and they were able to investigate and found that there was an error in the amount that he was being billed, so he was very happy with the results of that. And aside from that, I just want to also thank our finance director for answering some questions that I've had, and Rosanna always being accessible when I've had people call me regarding issues. I think some of the people call us, same people call us, because I keep getting phone calls also about the railroad. So I guess they figure if one council person doesn't take care of it, the other one will. But I'm glad to hear that that's moving, those things are getting corrected also. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And again, like everyone else, a little bit of time away, but I did participate in Opening Dove. And the past few years I've been involved in supporting, probably in a little, to a smaller degree, the Wounded Warriors program and Gold Star families that have come down here through one of our congressmen and his father, Duncan Hunter. And I think it was featured here on the front page of the Desert Review. So I was able to help support that program this year with some locations, some hunting locations, as well as kind of commercially speaking, we help with some sponsorship and whatnot. So I was out there. Unfortunately, it sounds like everyone had great luck and great spots, and including our Wounded Warriors, except myself and my team. We didn't have so much luck. So we saw birds, we heard them, but didn't really get very many in range, and some mosquitoes and some humidity, but still a good time to be out there and be together. Echoing, I was going to actually mention, and you mentioned it, Councilmember Couchman, that some of the hotels that I was working with said they were, one was as much as 30% off in terms of bookings, and don't know what the exact attribution is there, but I'm sure some of the restrictions made some of that a little bit difficult. But again, it was a great time. And Brawley is just a great host city for so many that come down and actually take advantage of the outdoor sports. So with all that said, look forward to, I know everything's back to business, back to school, back to work, and back to everything now. So yes, looks like I'm getting a signal. Yeah.
If you're finished, I just want to congratulate Lloyd Miller on his anniversary edition for the newspaper.
Congratulations, Lloyd.
Congratulations, Lloyd.
That was going to be my last thundering.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I thought I set it up by first pointing to the article. Actually, no. Great point out. No, great job, and all was well done. Both to you, Lloyd and Betty, for your dedication, what you guys do. And I know when it cools off a little bit, I'll be seeing Lloyd out there on the bike trails some more. So I think that's hopefully the plan. We'll move on. Item 7, we'll move to our city manager's report.
Wanted to share with the council that this week we are being visited by the State of California Housing and Community Development for an audit. It's been a number of years since they've sat down with us to review files. The projects that'll be evaluated include our sewer manhole rehabilitation, our purchase of a fire apparatus, our Hinojosa Park and Senior Center projects. So we had a great kickoff meeting with multiple departments present today, and we'll have our closing conference Friday with HCD representatives. Wanted to also note that the county's project, as you may recall, North Highway 111, or former Highway 111,
8th Street, yeah.
Now 8th Street, within City of Brawley city limits, that the council took action to one day receive and relinquishment, is scheduled to come forward for improvement. We still have our contract open with our North 8th Street project, so it will be presented to the council in the very near future as a change order item, for which the county will cover the cost of the work being performed. And at the conclusion of that project, once it is completed, the city will take action to accept the responsibility for the roadway. So we were able, with the help of our county partners, to be a complement to each other's work, and hopefully have a better 8th Street serving the traveling public for many years to come. I want to also note that last Friday, a number of local nonprofits came together to support outreach related to the hard to count anticipated as part of the Census 2020. 3 groups combined together to submit a proposal, which included Comité Cívico del Valle, Multicultural Roots Cultural Center. Do I have that? Yes. And Campesinos Unidos. All 3 combined together to assist with outreach-related tasks that are leading up to deadlines for the census. So we will have the opportunity for Brawley to get some extra focus. All of us will be working together as public agencies to kind of increase our message power. And the school districts have also signed on, along with the hospital, to push out messaging as well. So looking forward to that work being carried out. You may see that we have some countdown boards that are here in the office. We will be sharing those with a number of local stakeholders that have a lot of public access, and it's part of the daily count to getting to the census submittal date. We've also got the countdown featured on our city website. Want to also note that the city is working along with the Kettle Call Rodeo Committee and the Imperial County Public Health Department to produce some joint public messaging around clean hands, specifically on our last day of the rodeo when a petting zoo is featured. As a result of some of the Del Mar Fair's experience this last year and E. coli concerns, there's a really great opportunity for us to work proactively together to push the Clean Hands message points. There will be washing stations incorporated into the area in different ways, and signage being produced and posted. And our partners at the Rodeo Committee have been kind enough to agree to sharing the cost of getting those signs produced. And the health department has provided us with graphic support and help with the actual content. So we're looking to finalize that work in English and Spanish in the coming days and get the order placed for the signage. And then last but not least, I want to note that we will have an item coming to the council in the very near future as it relates to the segment of Allen Street that had a water line break. We are definitely evaluating the options to restore the roadway, and given the conditions of the area, both the existing water line as well as the ability to patch and replace what is no longer roadway in place. We have some alternatives that we will be bringing to the council at the next council meeting. They are cost intensive, and we want to be sure that we have a little bit of extra time to identify from a water fund point of view what could be done to replace the one block that really is severely compromised and aged. And number two, restore the roadway to an acceptable standard. And if you haven't driven that site recently, as it's done a much better job of drying out, there's not a whole lot of material for us to work with, which means taking on a project is a much larger undertaking than our typical water break. So coming to you very soon for an action item. And with that, if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Questions? Comments? No. Very good. Thank you, Rosanna. We'll go to item 8, City Attorney's report.
So the code enforcement problem on I think it's I Street. Mm-hmm. The tenants have been evicted. The landlord's back in possession, and he's given the notice under the civil code that he has to give to the former tenants to come get their property before he can dispose of it. There's a day or two left before that time expires, and then the plan is he's going to bring the big roll-up dumpsters, and away it goes. The tenants, of course, insist that they're coming to get it, and that it's very valuable stuff. Doesn't look like they're going to make it. So that'll be the end of it once he cleans it up. The best part is that he paid his own attorneys to do this instead of us.
Wow. Very good. Thank you very much, Bill. Item 9, City Clerk's report.
Just a reminder of the mixer this Thursday for Busy Bee from 5:30 to 7 on your calendar.
5:30 to 7 on our calendar. Very good. Thank you. And
we'll be there.
Get it. Yeah. You'll be busy.
That's right.
We'll go.
You're going to buzz on the street.
This is getting better. We'll go to item 10. We'll take a brief break. We're going to closed session. And thank you, everyone, this evening.